Coming in, welcome, welcome, welcome. Benvenuti, benvenuti, benvenuti a tutti. Welcome everybody. How are you? Thank you for coming in today for this event. Buonasera a tutti and welcome to the presentation of the novel The Patron Saint of Second Chances by Christine Simon. I am Chiara Durazzini and I am the events coordinator at I Am Books. I Am Books is an Italian and Italian-American bookstore here in Boston, actually in the North End, the Little Italy of Boston. So the bookstore is open, it's very big, it's wonderful. Anytime, come and visit. So today I am with these two wonderful women, Christine and Julia. And Christine is the author of the book, and Julia will interview her and conversate with her. And of course, as usual, every now and then I will give my comments and I will pass your questions and comments. So please, attendees, feel free to write in the chat or in the Q&A. So let me introduce to you our guests. We have Christine Simon. She grew up in a very large and very loud Italian family and now lives with her husband and 4 children in New Jersey. The Patron Saints of Second Chances is her first novel. So congratulations to Christine.
Thank you.
And Julia Claiborne Johnson is the author of the best-selling Be Frank With Me, a finalist for the American Booksellers Association Best Debut Novel Award. She grew up on a farm in Tennessee before moving to New York City, where she worked at Mademoiselle and Glamour magazines. She now lives in Los Angeles with her comedy writer husband and their 2 children. So welcome. And Julia, did you read the book? I read the book. Here
I did.
it is. And it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. It was fabulous. So
Julia, tell us your impressions.
I'll tell you my impression. I also wrote another book. You didn't mention that. It's called Better Luck Next Time. So I have 2 books. So I often get asked to blurb novels. And usually I think, because I don't like everything. And so an editor, I was in New York because my daughter had an appendectomy, and this editor called and said, will you blurb this novel? I said, look, I need a book for the plane. If you meet me on a street corner, because it was during high COVID, and hand me the book, I'll try to read it on the airplane. I laughed all the way home. It was so funny. And I'd kept a list of my favorite lines from it because I was just like, they made me laugh so hard. And I will, I'll tell you a few of them because I have them on a piece of paper here. You can see there are many. I'll tell you 3. One of them is, my God, she's covered in schnauzers. That made me laugh really hard. When you read the book, you'll understand why that is so funny. The description of somebody's house, it was like a cross between catacombs and an IKEA catalog. And there's a character there who is a butcher. He's a big supporter of meat, but he's talking to the butcher. He's a big supporter of meat, cutlet, pork chop, any kind of meatball. And people kept looking at me because I was snickering on the plane, serious times, and I was laughing to pieces. So that was my introduction to Christine Simon. So I was happy to.
Nice. And Christine, would you like to tell us, readers, without giving away too much and no spoilers, a little bit about, the plot, because there are some really, really, really fun characters, especially the protagonist, the Mayor Speranza, right?
Yes. Well, I got this idea from news articles that I would see about tiny Italian villages that are losing their population. And they would be offering homes for $1 because they're trying to get people to move in. And then usually there would be a mayor at the center of this scheme. And one of the things I saw, he was doing a publicity stunt where he said made it illegal to die. So everyone would want to live here. So I kept seeing these articles and I kept thinking about them. And then I got the idea that what if I set something in a tiny town like this? And then it also gave me the mayor at the center of it, that he's trying to save the town. And it gave, and then I just needed an interesting way for him to try to save it. So Senor Speranza, my mayor, he gets word that the pipes are going to be shut down unless he can raise 70,000 euros to repair them. So he gets the idea to spread a little rumor that a famous movie star is coming to the town to film his next movie. And he's hoping that that will help raise some money through tourism, or maybe he can get investments. And it gets out of control because the people in the village really love this idea and everybody wants to be a part of it. So then to keep up the ruse, he has to make the movie for real. So that's the story in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's a clever way, right? To keep people in your village. Julia?
Yes, ma'am.
Do
you want Christine to read some now from her book?
That's right. Sorry. That's right.
Okay. I was ready. I'm rolling with whatever happens. I think that would be, because now that we know what the setup is,
please, Christine, read us a little piece, whatever you want.
Okay. So this part, Senor Speranza manages to get the village butcher, who has 15 sons, to agree to give most of the money that they need. But his with the caveat that he has to give his son Ernesto, who wants to be an actor, a role in the movie. But Ernesto is not going to take a role unless he feels that he deserves it. So he goes to the audition and he flubs it. He runs out. Then they try to see if he wants to be a stunt double. And so he tries out for that and he runs into a tree. So now they're really desperate. They're going to lose the money unless they can get Ernesto to, do something. So Senor Speranza's daughter mentions that he used to be a really good singer. So maybe he would be able to sing in the movie. So he's going to the butcher shop to ask Ernesto to sing. And he's also sneaking past the village priest, because the village priest is starting to be suspicious that it seems like maybe he's telling lies. Maybe this is not really happening. So he's avoiding the priest. And as he's looking out the window of his vacuum repair shop to the butcher shop, he gets lucky, and these two old ladies walk by and distract the priest. And the two old ladies are actually named after my great grandmothers. They're Senora Padula and Senora Barbaro. So that's where this starts. Okay, I'm going to try not to look down the whole time. Okay. The next morning at 7, Senor Speranza crouched by the front window of Speranza and Sons and peered out into the square. It was too early for most people to be out and about, but he had darkened the lights in the showroom and posted the back in 15 minutes sign on the front door, just in case, to discourage any unannounced visitors, and especially Don Rocco. He did not wish to discuss the state of his soul on an empty stomach, especially when he had an important errand to accomplish. Across the street, in the cracks around the blinds, he detected movement in the butcher's shop. The Maestro sons, no doubt, as Senor Maestro did not usually arrive on the premises until 9. And diagonally, he saw Don Rocco, waiting outside the church for the members of the ladies' rosary circle. Once the ladies arrived, it would be safe for Senor Speranza to venture outside. "Good morning, ladies," Don Rocco shouted as two of the members, Senora Barbaro and Senora Padula, approached. "Did you sleep well?" The ladies hobbled closer, and Senor Speranza saw Senora Barbaro throw her hands in the air. "Mariana," she cried, "look who it is." "Qui est?" Senora Padula swiveled her head back and forth. "Who is it?" "Jesus!" cried Senora Barbaro. Senor Speranza bit his knuckle to stifle laughter as the two ladies converged on a very startled Don Rocco. "Que bello!" Senora Barbaro pressed her hands to the priest's cheeks. "Bello!" She kissed him on either side of his face. "Is he going to say the rosary with us?" asked Senora Padula. "Mariana," Senora Barbaro scolded. "It's Jesus. He's busy." No, Senora." Don Rocco's face burned red. "I am not Jesus. It's only me, Don Rocco. But I will be happy to say the rosary with you." Senora Barbaro appeared to consider this. "Come along, Jesus," she said, taking him by the hand. "Let's go and find a seat." and she and her sister dragged him into the church. The coast clear, Signor Speranza gathered his courage and went across to the butcher's shop. The door jingled as he walked inside, and several maestro sons looked up in surprise. "Good morning, signore," said Ivano, who had paused in scrubbing the counter. "I'm sorry, but we are not open yet." Signor Speranza held up one hand. "Is Ernesto here?" he asked. The brothers murmured among themselves, and then Ernesto himself emerged from the back room. "Ciao, signore," he said miserably, looking down at his feet, and Signor Speranza noted that he had a large purplish goose egg in the center of his forehead. Signor Speranza decided to get right down to business. "I am here, Ernesto," he said, "because my daughter told me that you can sing." Ernesto looked up, startled. "Gemma said that?" Signor Speranza nodded. "She said it, and so did your father. Is this true?" Ernesto frowned and gazed at the floor again, but Ivano spoke for him. "It really is true, signore," he said earnestly. "He has the best singing voice I've ever heard. Sometimes he sings the rest of us to sleep." Signor Speranza's mustache quivered as he pondered this particular mental image, but he was able to maintain his composure. "Well then, Ernesto," he said, crossing his arms, "here is your second chance. Sing." Ernesto looked up, panicked. "Signore," he pleaded, "I cannot." But this time his brothers clustered around him, and Signor Speranza stood firm, blocking the door. "Come on, Ernesto," coaxed Ivano. "We all know you can do it." Ernesto glanced around helplessly, but there was no way out. Finally, he closed his eyes, he took a deep breath, and he began to sing. It was the Ave Maria. As the first tremulous notes rang out, a chill went down Signor Speranza's spine. The song grew, and Ernesto's voice expanded, and the walls of the butcher's shop seemed to drop away. Signor Speranza closed his eyes also and found that he was at the Church of St. Agatha 60 years ago. He saw himself practically a baby. He saw his father. He saw a pine box covered in yellow flowers. Baby Giovannino reached out a chubby hand. "Mama." Luigi Speranza caught the baby's hand and kissed it. "No, Giovannino," he said, "no." The baby began to cry. The song ended, and Signor Speranza was back at the butcher's shop. He opened his damp eyes and blinked. "Thank you, Ernesto," he said, clearing his throat, and then he turned and left. He marched across the street, conscious that the eyes of the Maestro siblings followed him through the cracks in the blinds. When he opened the door of Speranza and Sons, he found his assistant, just arrived for work. "Good morning, Smelzo," he called. "I know what we are going to do with Ernesto Maestro." Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
You have pictures of people who
do.
inspired characters in your town, the town
Yes.
that you described. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. I have a slideshow, so I'm gonna click over.
Cue that up.
Okay. So this is the Italian author Giovannino Guareschi, and he is who I picture when I picture the character of the mayor, Signor Speranza.
Mhm.
They have the same black mustache, and they also have the same first name. And the name is Giovannino, and that's his given name, which is a little ridiculous because it's supposed to be a diminutive form of Giovanni. So it's like these little Giovanni. And so that's kind of where his whole personality came from, that he's very impetuous. He's kind of childishly stubborn. He makes ridiculous, ill-informed decisions. And that kind of drives the whole plot, that this is he's pure of heart, but he does not make very practical decisions. And he's very stubborn. And I also, he wrote the Don Camillo books, and one of the characters in the Don Camillo books is called Smilzo. And so I also borrowed that name for.
I wondered where you got that name from. Okay.
Yes, so that comes from the Don Camillo books. This is the inspiration for the schnauzers. This is my schnauzer, Muggsy. And he is not as badly behaved as the schnauzer in the book, but he did have to go for very rigorous training. And then he had to go for some postgraduate studies as well, because it didn't take the first time.
The schnauzers are so funny. They really cracked me up every time the schnauzers came on.
Well, I really tried to put, I wrote this book during quarantine when I was early quarantine, and I was stuck in the house and everything was terrible. And it was just like, oh my God, maybe the world's ending. And I just, for the first time, really understood, write the book you want to read. That
right.
Made sense, for the first time. I put everything that I liked in it. And
that was really smart. Yeah, because I liked everything in it too. So that worked for both of us. Thank you.
Yeah. So schnauzers, I love schnauzers. And there's also a Pomeranian who's based on a Pomeranian I did know. You would take this dog for a walk, and he would just be like this the whole time, like, please pick me up. Like, why is this happening? So that was the inspiration for the Pomeranian in the book.
The Pomeranian's very funny.
Yes, Bambolina.
The tongue.
Yes. The village, Signor Speranza's village, is based on my grandparents' village, which is in Calabria, and this is their town sign. And one of the first things that I thought of about Premetto was the town sign, that there's so few people that when they put the population number, which in Premetto is 212, it's accurate. But that's how many people there. It's not an estimate. That's how many people there are. If someone's born or someone dies, they need to change the sign.
So are there 50 people in this town? Is that why it has a 50 there?
No, I don't. That might be the road. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
No, they don't have the.
Yeah, that's the speed limit.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 50 kilometers per hour. It's kind of an old sign, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that is the symbol for the speed limit.
Okay.
But Verrazzano is really interesting. I think they have about 800 something people now, but there was an earthquake, a serious earthquake in 1907 that damaged a lot of the houses, and houses were, it was a medieval town. So the houses were all built high on the mountain. And when so many of them were damaged, instead of repairing them, they just moved down a layer. So you can actually go and see the houses. They're all still there. And there's like trees growing out the windows, and there's moss growing on the stairs. And so that, it didn't make the book, but that kind of informed Signor Speranza's wistfulness for the past. Like, imagine you can actually visit the past. It's still there. So that's what I was thinking of with that. Go to my next one. Okay, now here, can you see my arrow if I go like this?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is my grandfather. And this is my Nonna Mariana. My grandfather's mother died when he was 2 weeks old.
Oh no.
So she was only 22 years old. And her sister, Mariana, ended up taking care of the kids. And then years later, his father remarried her. So in my book, the two sisters both survived to old age. So they're always together, and they're in the book. But this is his brother, and this is all of them, and everybody in my family is always sitting outside with a long table and food and like lawn chairs. And I noticed that, when I saw the pictures of everybody back in Verrazzano, that's what they were doing there as well. So my grandparents, when they came here, they moved to Cliffside Park, New Jersey, and they kind of recreated their own Verrazzano in their backyard. It looks the same on the Google images and my family photos. It kind of looks the same.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, here he is sitting on a rock. And, here we're at just the plant life. I have at one point, Signor Speranza is charging through licorice plants, trying to get home before, and I'm picturing kind of all this overgrowth. Old photos. And here is some members of my Nonna's family. And this is my Nonna Caterina, and she only had one tooth. And so I gave Nonna Delfina in the book, I gave her one tooth, but she was my mother's absolute favorite grandmother. She was wonderful. Here's some pictures of the town. You can see it's kind of dilapidated. This is my great grandfather's funeral, and I don't know why it's only the men. Maybe Chiara, do you know why it would have only been the men in the funeral procession? I don't know.
No, it's the patriarchal heritage. I mean, no, I don't know. I've never seen something like that. It might be a Southern Italian tradition, particularly probably for that village. But patriarchy was very strong in those times.
Yes. Well, that's why I gave Signor Speranza only a daughter, and a daughter.
Yeah, I noticed, and it's very sweet. She wants to be the makeup artist, right? In the movie, very nice. No, it's a good, good balance to kind of counteract the patriarchal Italian tradition.
Oh,
That is kind of, we're getting better, but you know.
Mhm.
yes. Well, his nemesis has 15 sons. That was on purpose. Like here, this man
Okay.
will live forever. You know, I have like the mirror where you can see forever, and they all look like him, and he's going to live forever. And
Mhm.
Speranza feels like, you know, his line is dying out, and he, you know, he's trying to live forever. But this is my grandparents' kindergarten class. Here's my grandmother.
Oh, that's so
And then
cute. Oh my gosh.
they
And
went to
Christine,
kindergarten.
what year is this, more or less?
My grandmother, let me see. She is 92. Oh,
So it must have been 1920 something.
it was probably 19th, maybe it was 1935.
Yes.
Okay.
I bet you're right, because my mother's 93 and she was born in 29. So
Yeah,
Ah.
she's 1930. Yeah. Yeah, so their mothers were friends before his mother died, but their mothers were friends. And when they were pregnant at the same time, and they said, "Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful if they got married?" And then
they did.
yeah, so sweet. And this is my grandfather looking remarkably like my son. So I like that whole idea that you know, that in this village, like everybody knows everybody and could remind you of somebody.
Mhm.
You know, because everybody stays in one spot, they could remind you very strongly of someone else. And then this is my grandfather looking a little bit like a movie star.
Yes, indeedy.
And looking very tall, even though he was not, because everyone here is very short. This is my nonna.
Uh-huh.
And let me see. There's one. Oh, okay. And then this is my grandfather leaving on the train. This is when he left the village. And he left in, I think, 1951. And then my nonna followed in 1952. So I think that this is probably where the train scenes in the book come from, that Senor Speranza's cousin, Paolo, left years ago, and he took a chance on another kind of life. And Senor Speranza is kind of vaguely wondering, like, did he miss a chance for something bigger? Did he miss a chance for something better?
Yeah, I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in the book.
Now, this is my grandfather in America at his right after his daughter Fran got married. He is directing the parking of cars. And this is what I was thinking, and you can kind of animate it.
Uh-huh.
As you go back and forth. And I love it so much.
Uh-huh.
This is what I was thinking with Senor Speranza when he's dealing with the parking. Like, where are people?
Yeah. I totally see that.
The
Plus,
major.
I love his awesome giant bow tie too.
Yes, perfect. And then this is my nonna now. And, you know, we like to take pictures of people holding food.
Okay, let's see what you guys are eating there.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's dinner time for me. I'm getting hungry, but what is that?
And this is Vita Caruso. She was from the village also. So I got to meet, I've never been to Ferrazzano, but I've gotten to meet so many people from Ferrazzano because a lot of them moved to the same area.
So we have macaroni with what?
I think it was broccoli.
Macaroni with broccoli and sausage.
And this is peppers.
Yes.
Like peppers and onions.
Yeah, peppers and onions.
That's some kind of Parmesan in the back. Maybe?
Yeah. A bracciola, a meat, maybe? It's hard to tell.
But no, when my nonna brings out, there's two things that she brings out, like she's presenting, and it would be either a wedding dress or a cake. They've brought up making a presentation and to take photos.
Yeah, looking good with those things, right?
And then this is in New Jersey, the same kind of gathering that they would be having in Ferrazzano. We have this long table, we have lawn chairs, everybody gathered around. I noticed these cinder blocks when I was doing this slideshow, and like I find that to be alarming. Everyone's standing under them. And then this is when they went back. I think it was 2016. They went back to their village for the last time, and everyone is just so happy. You can see my nonna's crying. Everyone's just so happy. They haven't seen people in decades.
Oh, sure.
Everything just looks the same as the old photos. Oh, and that's it.
Okay. That was fabulous. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Yeah,
That
it's particularly beautiful because we can tell now why you wrote the book, where some of the characters come from, and
Right.
it's a pretty typical immigration story, right?
Yes.
But
Mhm.
always very sweet, always very moving.
Yeah, it
Right.
helps you picture the town too, because I've never been to Italy. So, although
Right.
I lived in Hoboken, which looks a lot, sometimes looks a lot like
Yeah.
Italy. So,
No, like especially in this area, like people bring
uh-huh.
stuff with them. Like my grandparents had a fig tree in the backyard. They used to have
Mhm.
grapes and like you would think they were in Italy. And they also I lived there one summer and the furnace broke. Something broke. Something broke that they needed a plumber. And I don't know if this is where the plumber came from in my book, but
Mhm.
they needed a plumber. And every morning at 6 a.m. he would be there singing Italian opera at the top of his lungs, the top 6 a.m. He's ready to go. And I don't know what he was fixing or why it was taking so long, but it was at least a week that every morning we were being serenaded by the plumber.
Who your parents didn't know. You thought he was their friend, didn't you?
I did think that he was their friend, and they were like, no, because like he would sit with us at lunch. He would be served first, like by my grandmother, and then she would serve my grandfather. And I was like, who is this man? And they were like, I don't know. So and so told us, and now he's here.
He's a part of life. Yeah, exactly. Um, I like the fact that I've seen those pictures now because in my head, your book played like a movie. Because I live in Hollywood, so everything plays like a movie when I'm reading it. But and then you and I were talking, and you said there were some movies that really influenced you while you were writing it. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, the three movies were Big Night with Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub. I love that movie so much.
Oh, great.
And that was the movie that I think most closely helped me with the story, because it was like, okay, they're trying to save their restaurant, and this is how they're going to try to save it in this unorthodox way, with having Louis Prima come and have a big meal. So I was thinking, okay, well, he wants to save his town. What would be an unorthodox way to do that? And then that's how I landed on making a movie.
Yeah, and when I wrote to your editor, I said, you know what this book really reminds me of is Big Night. So it's funny when you told me that, I was like, oh my God, of course. So perfect.
Funny, yes.
Yeah.
And then the other ones were Waking Ned Divine and The Full Monty. So all those like 90s indie movies, those are, Waking Ned has like the small town, and they're doing this ridiculous, I don't know if I'm sure you've seen it.
It's a ticket, like a raffle ticket or something.
Yeah, someone in the village wins the lottery and dies, but they want to claim the ticket, so the whole village gets involved in this scheme. And I love that. I love small town antics. I love
a romp.
Plausible. Yes.
So I can't believe you wrote this thing during COVID, because you wrote it really fast too, right? Didn't you?
Yes. Once I'd always struggled with plot, and then this one, once I got the plot nailed down, it wrote very fast. And so I was writing 1,500 words a day, no matter what. And I don't know if you want me to tell my story.
Yes, I do want you to tell your story of like your dedication.
Yeah, I was about to say, what brought you to write it?
This is her technique. Like, this is because every writer writes differently. They have their thing, and Christine's thing is so hilarious. So you have to hear her.
Okay, let's hear.
Okay, so once I start, that's it. It's 1,500 words a day, come hell or high water, because I feel like the whole time, like I'm spinning plates. Like if I stop, I'm going to drop them all and the whole story is going to fall apart. And right until like if it took me 46 days, on day 45, I'm thinking like, I don't know, like maybe I'm going to finish this. There's a chance that I won't. We'll see what happens. So I have to work every single day. So this was towards the end, thankfully. And
She froze.
Rib cage kind of hurt.
You froze. Repeat the beginning again, because you froze up for just a second.
Oh, okay. So
toward the last.
So it was towards the end of the book. It was like late May. And this was during COVID, where like no one was going anywhere. We hadn't been anywhere since March 13th. And, I started to feel kind of weird. And like my rib cage felt weird. And like my shoulders felt funny. And like when I would laugh, it would kind of hurt. And I was like, oh my God, this must be like a gastrointestinal problem. I'm having some kind of problem like that. So finally I felt badly enough that I went to the ER. And when I'm there, I'm like, oh my God, this is so inconvenient. I have to get my words done. And my phone died. I was thinking maybe I could write it on my phone, but then I found paper and a pencil in my bag. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to write my words and I'm going to pretend that I'm not here because I'm terrified that I'm going to catch COVID while I'm here. So I'm writing in between. They gave me an x-ray, they gave me a CAT scan, and they gave me an ultrasound. And then the physician, I got to 1,800 words. And I'm so excited. And then the physician's assistant came in and was like, Christine, it's the weirdest thing. It appears your abdomen is filling with blood. And I was like,
with blood.
Oh, yeah, with blood. I was like, that sounds bad. Like, am I okay? And it wound up, it was fine. I'm fine. It resolved on its own. But that became like the new standard. Like, can you do your work today? Like, do you feel like doing your work today? And it'd be like, oh, you're a little tired. Like you don't feel like it. It's like, well, you wrote when your abdomen was filling with blood. So I guess that you can sit up a little later and finish it.
So you win every contest of dedication that will from here on till the end of time. So that's amazing. So
are you okay now? Is everything
totally okay?
Are you healed?
Yes. It was so bizarre. It was totally bizarre. But
wow.
It's funny now. It was not funny at the time.
I imagine. Oh my. Yeah. Now, I'm curious if your kids, you said you have 4 children, maybe the older ones read the book, and what do they think about it if they did?
My daughter Emily is the only one who has read it so far. And God bless her, and the other person who has read it is my brother-in-law Jason, if he's on here. Thank you, Jason. Because my family, it's like, oh, like this is so nice, and like I'm gonna read it. And then it's like, well, maybe I need the audiobook, like maybe I'll wait for that. So I used to get insulted like when I was trying to finish a book, because I would send people things and like I'd be like, oh my God, like it must be really bad, like no one can finish it, no one wants to read it, no one's responding. But now I know that it was just that's
how they go. That's how they roll.
Not a family of readers. That's the problem.
Your brother is very enthusiastic, I have to say.
Yes. No, I think he finally did read it. Again, he says, as he said in his video, he's had it for a year. You know.
Oh, he only just now read it? I thought he read it a year ago and never quite got around to telling you that he liked it.
Maybe he read. I doubt it. I feel like he probably just under the wire. I think he probably just read it. Yes.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? I mean, it's such a treat to read. I'm surprised your son because your son helped you with your slideshow. You would think that would make him want to read it, but I don't know.
Yes. No, well, today he was like, wait, your book comes out today? I was like, Jack, I woke you up this morning. I said, good morning, Jack. My book comes out today. I was like, that. He was like, well,
that's hysterical.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I really loved about this book, you know, I love a book that is full of enthusiasm. And what was great about the book to me was that like the people in the town had lost their joie de vivre. And then once this whole crazy scheme starts up, they all came alive and it was fabulous. Do you want to talk about that some?
Yes, that's what I feel like the whole trajectory of the book is going from apathy at the beginning and that kind of inertia and then going through to enthusiasm. And I think that Senor Speranza is so focused on the past that he's kind of cut off the possibility of a future. He's trying to preserve the past at all costs. So he thinks like social media is dumb. Young people don't go to church. They don't fix their vacuum cleaners. What's wrong with them? Back in my day, and thinking of his father's day as being kind of the ultimate thing that he would want to go back to. So he hasn't let go of his father. He still, you know, his father kind of lives in the back of his mind, and he, you know, chats with him occasionally. And, you know, but his father wasn't that way. I think that it's easy to think that his, you know, oh, well, my father liked it back then. But his father, there's a scene when there was a huge, he reflects back that there was the last time there was a big line outside the vacuum shop was when his father got in the new Hoover Constellation vacuum that would float across the ground. So it's like a space age vacuum. Like his father was embracing the future.
Change.
And
Yeah.
he thinks he's living the way his father lived, but he isn't. He's reactionary. He's thinking we need to go
So
back.
it's his dream of how it is. I also love the way you describe people like Antonella, who has the super curly hair and one of her earrings is always stuck in it. Like I could totally see her.
Yeah.
It made me laugh really hard. So when you were doing that, did you look at those pictures a lot for the inspiration? I know you did for the mayor, but did you have other ones, or it was just like people you had known throughout your life or your rich imagination?
The one thing that was the Smilzo one, I don't know if you've seen the episode of The Office when Michael and Dwight think that they are saving the branch. They go to they're such ridiculous characters, but they go to the CEO's house and they camp outside and they think they're saving the branch. But they're not. They didn't do anything. But that's kind of how I pictured Speranza and Smilzo, because I originally had a scene where someone was leaving the village and the sign painter was going to go change the sign, and they were staking out the sign, and they were going to physically, interfere with the sign painter, changing the sign. So I had like kind of more personality traits in mind than physical appearances. So that idea of Smilzo as being like kind of like a warrior, even though he's this like wimpy guy just trying to write a screenplay and get a girl to like him.
Oh my God, I loved it so much. Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like the screenplay. It's gonna save everything, but then it does, which is awesome. So, what were your favorite parts?
I really liked the part that I read today, which didn't. The first part with the two old ladies mistaking the priest for Jesus.
So funny.
Was in, I almost had to cut it because originally it was just kind of a standalone scene. And my editor was like, I really love this, but what are we doing? Like, it's not going anywhere. So I found a place to stick it where it's like, okay, well, it's distracting Don Rocco. And I found a way to make it incorporated. I was so happy to keep it.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second part didn't exist at all. The Ernesto's part got significantly bigger during the revision.
Ernesto's very funny too. Oh my God. He's
so earnest, and I
just want to earn this part. His name is, after all, Ernest.
Yes. But that part came, and sometimes I forget where things come from. I'll reread parts. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like I'm waving to myself from the other side. Like this is why you put this in here. We were at my daughter's friend's parents throw New Year's parties every year. It was before COVID, and we were at their house, and they always start their New Year's party with an outdoor mass, and they get like a big tent, and it's like clear plastic. So we're all zipped inside this tent and from the inside, and it's freezing out. And the priest is saying mass, and then they're family friends with the girl who's playing Maria in the new West Side Story movie, Rachel Ziegler. And so she was, I don't know her. She was just at this party, but then they had asked her to sing the Ave Maria. And when nobody knew she was going to do it, and when she started doing it, it was just like, oh my God, like I feel like I should have paid admission to come. It's so beautiful. So when I got to that scene and I knew he was going to sing, and it was like, oh, I know exactly what song he should sing, because it reminded me of that moment. And of course, Ernesto would sing a religious song, because that probably would be his opportunity to sing in a tiny Catholic village like this. So it worked perfectly. But when I read it the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot that was why I chose that song.
Yeah, because when you're a writer, you're like a magpie. Like you get stuff and you go, oh, wait a minute, I could use this thing. And it's incredibly, exciting to do. So that was great. You know what part I really loved is this is just going to be the greatest hits of your book. He has is it his grandfather or his great uncle who builds the amphitheater? I can't remember.
Uncle.
And he's, 93 or something. And he decides he's going to build this amphitheater, and then he builds it, and it's so beautiful. And you're just like, oh my God. And it made sense. It would be so beautiful, but you kind of think it's not going to be. You think it's going to be like some old guy sort of tottering around, but then it's like a triumph. And I love that. So,
well, I love the idea that, like, going along with that, and then also with Smilzo being so touched that they could have a movie theater, like this whole idea that it's like these people can do the same things that any other people can do just because they live in this tiny place.
Mhm.
You know, that idea that of course their movie could be good enough. Of course we could make a movie. Like, who's to tell us that we can't?
Mhm.
And that they had felt like they couldn't do those things because they're from the middle of nowhere.
Right.
That was one of the things. So yeah, I love that part too, with how proud the uncle is.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as somebody who grew up on a farm, all of this was very vindicating for me. I was like, oh my God, see, they can do it too. So I loved everything about this book. So I was so pleased to read it. So,
And Christine, we have a question from Calvin. He's asking, I am a 70-year-old man. How old is this Signor Speranza character? I would like to compare ages. That's
He's
nice.
he's 62.
Ah, okay.
which is how old I am. So
Yeah,
still kicking, you know.
Yeah, so close enough.
Mhm. I loved how his character, his mustache was almost a character in the book. Because sometimes I feel like my mustache is a character in the book of my life.
he
Oh,
used to be older,
yeah.
but then I needed the age to make sense for Gemma to be his daughter to be young.
Mhm.
So it made more sense for her to be in her early 20s than in her early 30s.
Right.
For
Yeah,
the
'cause
way
she acts like somebody in her 20s. So and her
Yeah,
love for
yeah.
kid
yeah. So
behind
I had to adjust his age downward.
Mhm.
You know what else is
Mhm.
excellent about your book? Let's just talk about you some. Is all the characters, they don't all sound alike. They each have their own
Yeah,
personality.
that's amazing.
That's,
The variety. In fact, I was
yes,
thinking, how
it's
did she come up
fabulous.
with all of these variety, right?
They sound so great because I'm reading a Raymond Chandler book right now and it's hilarious and dark, but all the characters sound alike. And it just hit me. I was like, Christine could have taught Raymond Chandler a thing or two
Thank you, Julie.
about how to make the
Mm.
characters all so different.
I
So-
come from a family of, like, we do impressions of people that no one knows. Like, we do fantastic impressions of our relatives, and it's like, it's not a marketable skill. So it's just for our own, you know.
But it turns out it is a marketable skill.
Yes, right.
And you did not know that all the stuff you did before was like research and development for this book.
Yes, yes.
So you need to go around to your family and thank everybody for their contribution.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, what
That's
else?
amazing. That's
What else should we
amazing.
talk about? What have we not touched on here?
Yeah, any final remarks, Christine? Maybe, I don't know, you want to comment, tell us the experience of writing this book. It's your first novel, so, you know, it's a big achievement.
I'm impressed with your like dedication to your 18 or however 1,500 words a day. Like that is very businesslike. Because I think a lot of times when people write books, they don't understand, like I'm going to write a novel, but they don't understand that there's a lot of hard work goes into it and not much glamour at all. So I'm super impressed with you. What did you do before? Were you at school?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. I mean, you know, this is your first novel, but have you written anything else before? You don't say that in your bio.
Mhm.
I've been trying to write a book since, I mean, first I tried when I was like 10, but I've been trying for real since my son was born and he's almost 15.
Mhm.
So it's been a while. And I think the last thing that came was plot. That was it was like it didn't click in my brain what I need, you know, like you need a really defined plot. And so, you know, I've spent the last couple of years picking movies apart and like outlining scenes and trying to like reverse engineer, like, how did they do this? And I did a lot of, you know, like before each act, like I would outline like 10, okay, these are 10 things that need to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was helpful.
That is helpful.
Yeah, but I feel like I write so fast because I'm terrified that I'm going to stop. Like if I go too slowly, then I'm never going to get to the end. Like,
yeah,
like I said, like on day 45, it's like, oh no, what if I don't finish it?
They fall into that trap though. They get caught up in the minutia without the big picture. That happens a lot. But I
Right.
did that too when I was teaching myself how to write a book. I took books and I just wrote down everything that happened on every page, and it's incredibly helpful. Like
Yeah.
that was the best thing ever. So
Yeah. Well, it's like when painters go to a museum and like they try to copy brush strokes. It's
mhm.
the same, it's kind of the same thing. That's why we were talking about how the screenwriting books are so much more informative than the
Mhm.
novel writing books
Mhm.
because they talk shop. It's not just
Right.
like, oh, wait for inspiration. You know, you can't wait for
Yeah, if you wait for inspiration, you're going to be sitting there for a really long time.
Yes. Yeah. So
Oh,
it's so much
yeah.
more like the mechanics of like, hey, this is how you can do it. This is what you need. And so I
Mhm.
feel like that, like I'm mostly logically a logical thinker. So those books spoke to me. If I can
Mhm.
organize something
And I
and
wonder if it's because like I like to write funny books,
right.
and maybe it helps if you have a sense of it, because you have to set up things that are going to pay off, because you were really good at that. Like I was like something, you'd have a callback to something that had happened 4 chapters before, and it would just crack me up.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, oh, so funny. And I wish
Yeah.
I have the British edition. As you can see, I'm very fancy.
Oh,
And you get
wow.
all these little blue things in it, because it was like, oh man, here's where she set it off, and then here's where it paid off. So anyway, but yeah,
And
no,
listen, Christine, Emily is asking, which character do you think that you are most like?
Well, I am extremely
Maybe the Mayor Speranza?
yes, I do think that the Mayor Speranza. I am extremely stubborn, and I've also been known to get into like a mad like a little ridiculous scrape. Like I remember I went into a furniture store when I was in college, and I just wanted to look around. I just wanted to look around at the furniture, and they won't let you do that. They want to talk to you the whole time. They want to try to like, always closing. So I was like, oh, I'll just say like, oh no, I'm sorry, I have to come back with my husband. I was 20. I was not married. I did not have and it was like, then it just kept getting deeper. Like it would be like, oh, really? What does your husband do? And I was like, he works for the university that I go to. And then it was like, oh, really? And I was like, I think by the end I had kids, and it was like a whole thing. And
it was a
like,
physicist.
this is dumb. Like, this is the way my brain works. Like, I think of dumb things. That's, and that's like I was telling my kids, like when you sent me the list of the lines that you liked, I read them to my kids. And of course they hadn't read the book, so they were out of context, and I'm reading them. And as I'm reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, they must be thinking like my mother is might be an idiot. Like she might be, yeah, like this is what she's doing up there when she's ignoring me.
Oh my God. My husband's a TV writer. And when my daughter was in kindergarten, they had to tell a little thing about what their parents did. And she's like, my grandmother's a doctor. She lived with us. My grandmother's a doctor. My father writes for television, and my mother plays computer games all day. And I was like, oh! I was irate. And it was my daughter. I was like, come on.
Oh, great.
So I was not happy about that. So
all right, ladies, we have more questions.
Okay.
So let's go to Valerie, who's asking if you were to write a spin-off about a side character, who would you pick?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Let's do a spin-off, even maybe for Julia's husband. Maybe he can write a comedy or something.
I think Antonella moving to the big city.
Oh, that would be very good. Okay, Julia has the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's very good.
She's the wife of the screenwriter.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd be sitting by. What do we got here? What do we got? Who's our good one?
Oh my, that's funny.
I like Smilzo too. I feel like Smilzo
would
have more things to do.
Well, don't they end up together? They could get married and move to Rome.
Yes, and he could try to make it big as a screenwriter. Yeah, that's very good.
Then you know what's going to happen.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say what'll happen is she'll become famous.
Yes,
he'll still be at home going, so
right.
There will be tension. Will they stay together?
And then we have Calvin. Calvin again, he's asking, can we expect a movie version of this wonderfully whimsical novel by Christine Simon?
I hope so. I think that would be wonderful. There is Italy has bought the rights, so it is going to be in Italian. And it's,
Italy
and
has
also
bought
Japan
the rights?
For an
Italy.
Italian version of the book.
Yes. Yeah. For the
Wow.
not the movie, but I would love a movie. I've been
Maybe a TV series? What do you think?
I would love Tony Shalhoub as Senor
Mhm.
Speranza, and that's what my mother's going for. And my
Mhm.
mother believes just as strongly as Senor Speranza in the power of prayer. So she's been
So she's
saying
worked that.
lots
And
of
I think
very
that-
specific intentions.
And they need to do it in Italy, and we all three of us need to go.
Oh,
We-
for
we're
sure.
like
I'm gonna
Austin,
act in it.
Kristen, you know.
No, we need some Italian actors, my friends.
Yes.
Let's here they're all Italians, right?
Yes.
No, but it's really, really funny, really a really entertaining reading. I loved it. Yes,
so
very
glad.
nice. So I think it's time to wrap it up. If we don't have any other questions from the audience, let me remind you all, while perhaps we get some other comments or questions, let me remind you all that we at IM Books are organizing and planning so many events. Please go on our website and check them out, because if I'm going to tell you all of them, we are gonna be here until tomorrow morning. I wrote a few in the chat. But go on the link and see all the events, subscribe to our newsletter. We have both online events and something in person. In May, we do have something
Oh,
in
wow.
person. And then in June, we are also closing the season, if we can call it season, with a wonderful concert. So, even you, Julia, and Christine, if you happen to be in Boston, please come and visit.
Christine
Oh,
will
Sarah.
forget to pick me up.
Yes, you can drive together and we can, have some fun in the North End. So Sarah is saying thanks so much for yet another awesome event. Grazie Sara, un piacere vederti. And Pauline, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. So
That's
again, what's that?
I said that's my mother.
Oh, brava Paolina. So thank you, my friends. It was wonderful to meet you both, online, but still, and chit-chat with you about this book. This is a really, really nice, entertaining reading. Brava, Christine. Very good job for your first novel. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Julia, for conversating with us. Valerie is also saying brava, Christine. Yes, we all agree. All right, so see you on the next event. Please feel free to check out the website and to go and enjoy this reading. Ciao a tutti, buonanotte. Yay, Christine.
Yay.
Yay. Ciao, arrivederci.